They say the gods punish him not for his cruelty, but for his desire. He was the mightiest king of his age, a ruler whose army stretched from the Nile to the edge of the desert sun. His name was Nefersekum, pharaoh of Egypt, son of Ra, lord of the two lands. To his people he was divine. To his enemies he was death. But in the twilight of his reign, the sands began to whisper of a woman, a stranger who came from the desert, cloaked in linen black as midnight, her eyes marked with the sigil of Anubis. She called herself Enchira, the voice of the gods. And when she spoke, even a high priest fell silent. The pharaoh saw her once, just once, and forgot the world. His throne, his army, his kingdom, all faded before her presence. She did not bow to him. She did not tremble. She looked at him as though she had known him for centuries. And from that moment, the mightiest man alive became her shadow. His court warned him, "My king, this woman is not mortal. Her beauty is a spell. Her voice is poison." But Nefersekum laughed. "If she is poison," he said, "then let the gods watch me drink." From that day, Egypt changed. Temples once filled with prayers were turned to shrines of Enchira. Statues of gods were torn down and replaced with her likeness. The river that had blessed the land for generations ran dry that summer. But the pharaoh cared for nothing except the woman who had stolen his soul. In the shadows, his priests spoke of a curse, an ancient prophecy that warned. When a king loves a goddess of death, the Nile shall remember its wrath. And soon it did. For in the final days of Nefersekum's reign, the golden sands turned red, and a storm of darkness swept across the desert, erasing his name from every wall, every tablet, every memory. No historian could explain how a kingdom that powerful vanished in a single night. No scripture dared to speak her name again. But among the ruins of Thebes, where the wind still howls through broken stone, there is a single carving that remains untouched by time, the image of a woman standing over a fallen king, her eyes burning like stars. And beneath it, in faint, ancient script, for words carved in fear, she was not mortal. The kingdom of Sarem shone like a jewel in the desert. Its golden domes reflected the burning sun, and its marble streets were lined with statues of kings long dead. Yet no king in its long and blood-soaked history had ever been as feared or as desired as King Azhir the Magnificent. Azhir was born into a line of conquerors. His father built empires. His grandfather bathed in blood. But Azhir's passion wasn't war. It was beauty, the beauty of art, music, and women. From the day he took the throne, the palace gates never closed at night. Caravans arrived from Persia, Egypt, Greece, bearing gifts of gold, jewels, and the most breathtaking women the world could find. It was said that the king could not sleep unless a new face lay beside him. His chambers, known as a hall of perfumed shadows, were a labyrinth of silk curtains, golden lamps, and voices that whispered through the night. The air was always thick with incense and secrets. But not all who entered those chambers left alive. The servants whispered that the king had made a pact with Shadow. Each dawn, one of his lovers disappeared. Her name erased from the palace records, her scent washed from the walls. Some said they were sold, others that they were sacrificed. Only the royal guards knew the truth, and they never spoke again. Despite the rumors, Azhir's charm bewitched all. He was tall, with eyes as black as obsidian and a voice that could command armies or make any woman kneel. Even queens from foreign lands wrote him letters sealed with their tears. Then, one night, a new caravan arrived from the east. Among the traders was a veiled woman who did not bow, did not speak, did not tremble before the king's gaze. Her name was Lira. Azhir was captivated. When she was brought before him, she lifted her veil, and the court gasped. Her beauty was unlike any they had seen, but her eyes held something deeper, something that frightened even the king. "You have conquered nations," she said softly, "but you will never conquer me." Azhir smiled, a dangerous, amused smile. "Every woman says that," he replied, stepping closer. "And every woman learned she was wrong." But Lira was different. She spoke little, laughed rarely, and refused his gifts. The king's obsession grew. He had palaces filled with dancers, poets, and jewels, yet none of it brought him peace. His nights were haunted by her eyes, cold, dark, unyielding. One of his advisors, an old priest named Haman, warned him, "Majesty, beware. The gods curse the man who turns love into hunger. She is not what she seems." But Azhir silenced him with a wave of his jeweled hand. "The gods envy me," he said. "Let them watch." Days turned to weeks. The palace grew quiet. The laughter of women was replaced by whispers of fear. The fountains ran red one night, blood flowing from the marble lions that guarded his hall. Servants said it was an omen, and still Azhir pursued Lira. Finally, one night, under the light of a blood moon, she agreed to meet him in the mirror chamber, a secret room where every wall reflected his face, his pride, his sins. Lira stood there, her white dress glowing like moonlight. "You have everything," she said, her voice echoing through the mirrors. "But you will give it all for me." Azhir stepped forward. "Gladly," he whispered. She smiled, slow, cruel, knowing. "Then let it be so." When he touched her hand, every mirror shattered at once. The candles blew out. Darkness swallowed the room. The next morning, the palace was silent. The king was gone. His crown lay on the floor, and beside it, a single black rose. When the sun rose over the golden domes of Sarem, the kingdom was in chaos. The guards searched every corridor, every courtyard, every hidden chamber. But King Azhir had vanished. Only his crown remained, glinting in the dim light of the mirror chamber, surrounded by shards of broken glass. For days, no one dared to enter that room. The air inside was cold, heavy, and filled with a strange scent. Neither perfume nor blood, but something in between. The servants whispered that the king's shadow still lingered there, pacing endlessly, whispering Lira's name. The council of nobles tried to claim the throne, but every attempt ended in disaster. One man's tongue swelled until he choked. Another burned alive in his bed. Each time, a black rose appeared on their pillow. It was clear. The king was gone, but his curse was not. And Lira, she was nowhere to be found. 3 nights later, an old beggar entered the city. His eyes were white with blindness, his body wrapped in tattered robes. Yet his voice was strong when he spoke in the marketplace. "I saw the king of Sarem," he cried, wandering the dunes like a ghost. "His flesh burns under the sun, but he cannot die." The crowd gasped. The priest dismissed it as madness, but the rumor spread like wildfire. Far from the city, beyond the sands and ruins, a figure moved through the desert, barefoot, crowned with thorns. His once golden skin was blistered by the sun, and his lips murmured the same name again and again. Lira, Lira. It was Azhir, or what was left of him. The woman he had desired above all had cursed him, not with death, but with eternal thirst. He would walk the earth, never aging, never dying, forever seeking the one who damned him. Every night, when the desert winds rose, he saw her face in mirage, smiling, distant, cruel. "You took what was never yours," her voice whispered in the sand. "Now the sand will take you." Meanwhile, in Sarem, the kingdom began to rot from within. The fountains dried up, the marble cracked, the gardens withered. It was as if the life of the city had been tied to its king. And when he vanished, the land followed him into decay. Old priest Haman gathered the remaining council members in the Temple of the Moon. "This is no ordinary curse," he said gravely. "She was not human." "What do you mean?" asked the trembling noble. Haman closed his eyes. Lira was one of the daughters of Lilith, the spirits of vengeance who punish kings for their sins. She appeared when the kingdom drowned in lust and greed. She was sent to destroy what we had become. But what of the king? Another asked. Can he be saved? Haman shook his head. He has tasted forbidden desire. There is no salvation for such men. That night, a sandstorm unlike any before struck Sarem. The sky turned red. Lightning cracked across the horizon, and the palace shook. When the storm cleared at dawn, the golden city had vanished beneath the dunes. Only the top of one tower remained visible, and upon it a single black rose bloomed. Centuries passed. Travelers spoke of ruins buried under the desert, where strange whispers echoed through the wind. Some said that if you listen closely, you can still hear Azhir's voice calling for Lira, begging for her forgiveness. And sometimes the wind answers. A scholar from Babylon once claimed to have found an inscription in those ruins. He who turns love into hunger shall be devoured by it. The flesh may perish, but desire endures forever. No one knows if Azhir still walks among the dunes, but every generation, men like him rise, powerful, proud, consumed by lust. And every time the curse returns, wearing a new face. The desert had become his kingdom now, endless, merciless, and silent. For centuries, King Azhir the Magnificent wandered its burning sands, his body unaging but scarred by time. He no longer remembered how it felt to sleep, or eat, or even to dream. His only hunger was for the woman whose curse chained him to eternity, Lira. Every night, when the moon rose over the dunes, he saw her shadow on the horizon, tall, graceful, and distant, and every time he followed, the image dissolved into dust. He screamed her name into the wind until his throat bled, but the desert only answered with laughter. The world around him changed. Kingdoms rose and fell. Empires turned to ash. The gods he once prayed to were forgotten. Yet he remained. He crossed lands that did not exist in his time, walked among men who built cities of glass and steel. But wherever he went, people felt unease. Animals grew restless. Fires dimmed, and mirrors cracked when he passed. No one knew his name, but they all felt the curse that followed him. One night, in a forgotten ruin buried beneath the sand of Persia, Azhir found a strange symbol carved into stone. The mark of Lira. It glowed faintly in the moonlight, pulsing like a heartbeat. Beneath it were words in a language older than memory. To end your torment, seek the mirror shadows. Beyond it lies the one you lost, or the one who awaits. His eyes, long turned dull by centuries of wandering, flared with purpose again. The journey to the mirror shadows led him through desolate valleys and mountains carved by wind. He crossed the ruins of forgotten temples where statues wept sand instead of tears. He saw cities built by mortals who believed themselves gods, and smiled bitterly, remembering how once he had done the same. But wherever he went, whispers followed. Children dreamed of a man made of ash. Women felt their breath catch when they saw his shadow. Priests claimed a spirit of desire roamed the earth, feeding on human obsession. The legend of the Wanderer King spread. A cursed soul who punished those who mistreated love, whose gaze could turn pleasure into pain. In a distant monastery, an old scholar named Tyre wrote of him. He comes when men forget what love means. He is both punishment and prophecy. When Azhir finally reached the Valley of Black Glass, he saw it, a lake so still it reflected the stars like a perfect mirror. At its center stood a stone archway, carved with symbols of the old gods. He stepped toward it, trembling for the first time in centuries. As his reflection appeared in the water, he gasped. It was not the face of a king, but that of a monster. Eyes hollow, skin cracked, a crown of thorns digging into his skull. Behind him, another figure formed, Lira, standing calm, beautiful, untouched by time. Her voice echoed from everywhere and nowhere. You still seek what was never yours. I seek forgiveness, he whispered. She smiled sadly. You mistake lust for love. You took without giving. You ruled without mercy. And still, you think your pain is redemption. He fell to his knees. Then end it. Let me die. The water rippled as she stepped closer. Death is mercy, and mercy is not for kings. With that, she vanished into the reflection, and Azhir screamed tore through the desert like thunder. The mirror shattered, sending 1,000 shards across the valley. Each shard carried his image, and wherever it landed, new stories of cursed kings began. Centuries later, travelers claimed to find pieces of that black glass scattered across the world, in Egypt and Babylon, even in the ruins of Rome. Some said that if you looked closely into those fragments, you'd see a man walking through the desert, still searching for a woman who no longer exists. For King Azhir the Magnificent was not dead. He had become the eternal wanderer. The living embodiment of desire turned to ruin. And even now, under the same moon that once shone on his palace, he walks alone, forgotten but never gone. For 1,000 years, the desert carried his footsteps. Time had forgotten his name, but the curse had not. Azhir the Magnificent, once a ruler of gold and flame, had become nothing but a shadow bound to the earth. He had seen empires rise like dawn and crumble like dust. He had seen men build towers higher than the clouds, only to destroy them with their own greed. But one night, under a blood-red moon, something changed. The wind fell silent. The sand stopped shifting. The desert listened. Azhir stood on the edge of an ancient valley, where the ruins of his lost kingdom, Sarem, lay buried. For centuries he had avoided this place, too afraid to face what remained of the world he destroyed. But now, something called him, a voice, soft as silk, ancient as sorrow. Return to where it began. It whispered. He walked through the ruins. Broken pillars, faded murals, the bones of his past. The palace where he once ruled was nothing but fractured marble and silence. Yet deep beneath the earth, the mirror chamber still existed. The place where he had first seen Lira. When he entered, the air turned cold. A faint glow pulsed from the cracked mirrors that lined the walls. And in one reflection he saw her. Lira, unchanged, beautiful, eyes like twilight, lips curved in that same knowing smile. "You have walked long enough," she said. Azhir's voice trembled. "Why do you torment me still?" "Because you never understood," she replied, stepping closer. "You believed love was possession, that beauty was a thing to own. But love cannot be taken by force. It is given only by the soul." "I know now," he said. "I destroyed everything for my desire. My kingdom, my people, myself. I seek not love, only peace." She studied him for a long moment. The silence between them felt heavier than centuries. Then she raised her hand, and the mirrors around them began to shimmer. Within each reflection, Azhir saw his past. The young king on his throne, the women he used like trophies, the soldiers who died for his pride, the servants he silenced, the cities he burned. Each memory struck like a blade. "Do you still think yourself worthy of peace?" Lira asked. "No," he whispered, "but even a monster deserves an ending." The mirrors cracked one by one, releasing bursts of golden light. The ground trembled. Lira stepped closer until her face was inches from his. "Then face the truth, Azhir," she said softly. "Your curse was never from me. It was born from your own heart." He looked down and saw his chest glowing, a faint light pulsing where his heart should have been. The light grew brighter until it filled the chamber. The mirrors shattered completely, and in their place, visions appeared, of his people reborn, the city of Sarem restored, rivers flowing again, laughter returning to the land. Azhir fell to his knees, tears cutting through the dust on his face. "Is this forgiveness?" Lira smiled faintly. "This is understanding. And with it comes release." Her figure began to fade, turning into mist and light. The last thing he heard was her whisper, "Let the sands remember your sorrow, and let the wind carry your name to peace." When the light dimmed, Azhir was gone. Only his crown remained, buried in the dust beside a single black rose. By morning, the valley of Sarem bloomed again. Grass broke through the sand. Water returned to the dry riverbeds. And in the breeze, travelers swore they heard a soft voice, not of pain, but of peace. The king has found rest. Centuries later, when archaeologists uncovered the ruins of Sarem, they found a single inscription on the wall of the mirror chamber. He desired the world and lost his soul. He found his soul and gained eternity. No one ever found the king's body. But those who visit the ruins at night say that sometimes under the red moon, they see a shadow standing by the ancient mirrors, not as a cursed soul, but as a guardian of what remains. And when the wind blows, it carries a whisper that chills the heart and soothes the soul at once. Desire is dust. Love is forever.